Welcome. Today we're going to talk about efficiencies in MIP. A lot of features that you may understand, you may have questions, you may be using and saying, hey, it's not working great. We're going to cover a lot of those. So the first one we're going to talk about is distribution codes versus allocations. My organization has chosen to do distribution codes. My organization is doing allocations. My organization owns the allocations module, and we never did anything with it. We see that quite a bit. So a distribution code is an allocation at the point of entry. What does that mean? When I'm processing an AP invoice, when I'm processing a journal voucher, when I'm processing a cash receipt, the distribution code that you set up is used, and the allocation is done at that moment based upon predefined methodology. It's invoice by invoice, it's transaction by transaction. That's when that distribution code is used. That's when that allocation happens. Now, distribution codes can be set up by units or by percentages. It's one way better than another. I like units. I like units because units calculate the percentage for me. Every organization that uses percentages usually has another Excel spreadsheet offline that they update first based upon some unit that calculates the percentage that then ends up in MIP. So by doing it by units, it could be full-time employees. It could be headcount. It could be clients served, square footage, number of computers, telephone lines, or anything else that you define. Percentages are just straight percentages. You enter those, it has to equal 100%, and then you can process. So that happens at the point when we're making the entry. It happens as part of the AP process. It happens as part of the journal voucher. Allocations look at the other side. It's after the fact. It's at the end of a month, a quarter, a year, that it goes back and looks at the entire pool of information that's been entered and says, okay, now we're going to allocate it this way. There's a ton of different methods within MIP that you can allocate by. You can build a table, you can do indirect cost rate, you can do relative account balance, and many more. You just have to think through the logic, but you can set that up and run it at the end of a period to have all of those costs spread wherever you'd like. At that time, it runs whatever's posted against those accounts that you're allocating from. So if you go and make additional entries, you will need to go back and rerun the allocation process to pick up those additional entries. So for organizations that are using the allocations module, we strongly recommend a good semi-hard close at the end of a month where we say, okay, we're not gonna run the allocation until the last step, and we have all of our AP in and all of our journal vouchers in, and we feel confident that we have everything captured. We have our accrual entries done so that when we run that allocation, it's really close to being accurate, if not the final one you need to run. If you add more entries, you will have to run that allocation process again. The next thing is memorize versus recurring. Memorize just saves us a template. It saves the transaction in the exact same layout that you entered it. You can recall it, and you can save it as percentages or fixed amount. This is a great feature because if you're allocating costs, great. It will figure out the percentages and reallocate those costs. If it's a fixed amount, fine. It's gonna be the same amount every month. We have some organizations that have 2-line entries that they still save as a percentage because it's the telephone bill. It only goes to 2 lines, the expense and accounts payable, but the amount changes every month. So by doing it as a percentage, they can get those dollars right on the first go round. Recurring builds off of the memorize process. You need to memorize the document first, and then you can add the recurring. The recurring is a reminder to process. And as I like to call it, it's a bad penny. Can't ever get rid of it unless I process it the right way. If you're saving documents as recurring, they must go through the entire recurring process as MIP has defined it to be cleared off of the list. You can't halfway process it, get it under transactions, and then delete it. It's going to show back up under recurring. It has to go all the way through to the post stage in order for it to get off the list. We've tried many times to get rid of them, and that is the only way to get rid of it, is to process it all the way through or update the last process date. Offsets versus manually balancing transactions. That's a mouthful. Offsets allow us to balance the transactions automatically. We only have to have them in two spots within MIP: when we're cutting checks and when we're printing AR bills. Those are the two that require automatic offsets. Everything else, if you want to balance manually, you can. There's nothing preventing you from adding that second line for accounts payable. But if you don't want to add that second line, the offset, if we set up the table correctly, will balance that line. So you enter the expense first, it will balance it to accounts payable. You enter the revenue first on a cash receipt, it will balance it to cash. Many organizations have multiple AP accounts. Usually that's a result of a setup that potentially wasn't optimized. Every fund can have its own offsets. So if we need to, where certain funds pay out of certain bank accounts, we can set up those offsets correctly based upon our fund segment. Shortcut keys allow us to be more efficient in MIP. There are two that are most used: the F5 key and the F6 key. The F5 key copies the cell above, the F6 key copies the line above. So if you have a multi-line transaction and the only thing that's changing is your grant, go to the next line, hit the F6 key, it will copy that line down and change that grant code to whatever that next line should be. You can repeat this process as many times as you would like till you make the entry complete. Have you ever looked at the Preferences tab? Do you even know where it is? Most people don't know where it is, nor have they ever looked at it. The Preference tab allows you to change the settings of how MIP works. My favorite preference is the Save Form layout. This allows you to adjust the fields on any entry screen to whatever size and order you want. And if this is turned on, it will save that layout. So many of you probably have segments that are always just defaulted. You can move those down to the end. You don't need to have them in the middle of the real estate on your screen. Put them down the end, set up the entry defaults, and it won't show anymore. It's not taking up that valuable space. Our entry type is always normal. It's right in the middle of the screen. Move that all the way down to the end. Those little changes, as small as they seem, allow us to be more efficient during our entry process. Other preferences that are available to you is, hey, you know what? I like the enter key to move between fields. I want the last two digits to always be recognized as cents. I don't want to put in the decimal. Things like that are available in your preferences. Go check them out. If you like this video, click on the like button below. If you want more content, follow along. And if you have a comment or a question, drop it down below. We'll be happy to answer it. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.